What's up, YouTube, and welcome into episode 4 of the LakeShow Flow. I'm Gio with my co-host Joe.
What's up, Laker Nation?
So if you're new to the channel, we went over this a few videos back, but for these back-to-back games, they're going to be covered in a single video just to make it easier for scheduling and stuff like that. We got a lot to cover, though. Back-to-back losses on the road, concerns in different areas, but we're going to start with the Philly game. We're going to talk about some key performers in that one.
Yeah, so for the Sixers, we had Harris with 24 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists. We had Embiid with 28 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. We had Ben Simmons with a triple-double with 17, 11, and 10. We had Danny Green with 14 and 6. And they had Steph Curry with a slow 2.
And for the Lakers, you had LeBron James with 34 points, 6 assists, and 6 rebounds. Anthony Davis with 23 points, 3 assists, and 2 rebounds. Dennis Schroeder with 16 points, 4 assists, and 3 rebounds. KCP with 3 points, 2 assists, and 3 rebounds. Pretty quiet for him. But off the bench, Caruso stood out to me. He had 10 points, 2 assists, 1 rebound, a lot of defensive plays, and some hustle. And then Kuzma with 3 points, 1 assist, but 6 rebounds. He's been really consistent with that. So starting into this game, we had a few things that we wanted to watch for. It was a potential finals matchup, obviously. First in the West, first in the East. They're the best home team. We're the best road team. And Embiid was coming to this game really hot, MVP candidate for sure, and so was LeBron. So wanted to see how both of them performed. But what'd you notice in the first quarter, Joe?
All right, well, first thing that they talked about, too, before the game even started, we're supposedly the number 1 team in defense efficiency, which is kind of crazy, right? Because if you watch these last 2 games or even some of the other games, it does not feel like we're the number 1 team in defense efficiency.
Yeah.
Like, I think what helps us in that category is because when we go on our stretches that are really great, they're just so great. Like, we lock things down, we stop from scoring, but then we have those bad stretches where we can't stop nothing. So
yeah,
that right away was kind of weird. But from the first quarter, I noticed that AD didn't start off with Embiid on him, actually. They had Tobias Harris on him. So AD kind of started off hot. He had 3 baskets. He had 2 free throws, missed 1. But I expected AD to kind of go to work, especially with Embiid off of him. And then on the other side, you had Embiid. You had Marc Gasol guarding him all night pretty much. And Embiid just like went off. Like he went to work. Like he had a total of 4 baskets. He had a total of about 6 free throws, I think. And yeah, Marc was just way too slow to guard him, which like brings us back to Marc. We've been talking about Marc this season a lot. And I just feel like Marc, I don't know. I feel like we need to do something different. As much as I love Marc, you know, because of his ties with Pau Gasol and everything, I just think we need to look at a different option because he cannot keep up with the big man, and it's like really showing.
Yeah, for Marc, I mean, they kept showing this stat that he was like the number 1 person, held Embiid to the lowest field goal percentage out of anyone, but that was last year, you know, and it's a whole another year of aging for him. He's obviously slowing down, so we didn't really notice that. Like, I mean, he had a few times where they kind of got a little aggressive with each other, but it wasn't enough for me to say, like, we don't need another big man. We definitely need another big man.
Yeah.
We're missing some athleticism from, you know, they have Dwight Howard now, so we're missing that. Just a little more hustle because Marc just can't make the crazy plays that Dwight and JaVale would make on defense.
Yeah, he can't. Marc can't keep up. Like, I'm at the point where I'm okay with moving on from Marc. Like, as bad as it might sound, it's just like, I think when the Lakers signed Marc Gasol, they didn't think they were going to get this version of Marc Gasol. And of course, Marc's in like a different part of his career. But I just think in the long run, like Marc's just going to hurt us with just basically, I said it in another episode pretty much, that he's playing pretty much empty minutes. Like, he just has to be better. But I mean, yeah, what do you think about Marc?
Yeah, I think with Marc Gasol, like I said, I mean, we're missing a lot of athleticism that we had last year, and we used to make people kind of like intimidated to go in the paint. And I don't think they're intimidated to go against Marc because I feel like there's a lot of young big men that we're going against, like Embiid that night, and then also Giannis. And I feel like they don't fear Marc Gasol.
No,
they played against Marc Gasol like most of their careers, you know.
Yeah.
And even though he did hold Embiid to the lowest field goal percentage, Embiid gets fouls, you know, like Embiid knows how to draw fouls, especially against someone like Marc that's going to be a step slower. He's going to be able to catch him off guard sometimes, draw a foul, and the next thing you know, we're giving him points anyways.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we definitely need more athleticism there.
Yeah, and also in the half, like I said, back to LeBron, LeBron pretty much started off hot. Like LeBron, I think, started off with like 5 baskets, and he got to the foul line, but he had Ben Simmons on him, right? And Ben Simmons is supposed to be like a really good defensive player, but LeBron just kind of outsmarted him. Like there was a bunch of like back cuts he got and stuff like that. And on the other side, I mean, Ben Simmons really didn't do much either. I mean, he had like 3 baskets, but they were all point paint, so it's just like LeBron held his own on that side.
In the beginning, they kind of went back and forth, but then I don't think Simmons scored. Like we're kind of just gonna break this down. Like we don't want to spend too much time quarter by quarter, but for that first half, Simmons kind of slowed down. I feel like we did better at guarding because I think he had 6 points almost going into the third. Like he kind of slowed down, and Embiid was doing more. We almost had like in the second quarter, AD had that banged knee, and so going on to that, I mean, it was encouraging to know he was gonna come back. Like we knew that right away, but. I mean, we have a lot to say with AD. I mean, we don't know if it's just all these lingering things that are adding up, the short off season. But he did score 23 points that game. But what do you think are your biggest concerns with AD right now? What do you think needs to be better? What do you think is slowing him down? What are the factors playing into this right now?
Well, I mean, I think with AD, he just looks like he's like, I don't want to say lazy because I don't think he's lazy, but he just looks like he's a little sluggish sometimes, And I feel like the intensity isn't there sometimes. It almost feels like he's going through the motions sometimes, And it's like, I don't know if it's fatigue. I don't know if it's something mentally. And, I mean, you also got to think about it like this, too, though. This year, they're pretty much playing games like every other day. Like, the season's so compact, and with the offseason being so compact, they're playing a lot of basketball. So maybe his conditioning isn't exactly where it needs to be because with LeBron, we talked about this before. LeBron's conditioning is like crazy, right? Like, but he's built that up over years and years and years and years. It's not like LeBron barely started getting conditioned. He's been doing this pretty much his whole career, so he's kind of used to it. And I think his body's built for this type of stuff. But AD, like I said, I don't know how he is condition wise. So I mean, maybe that's a huge factor. Condition wise, he's just getting tired, and the condensed season's really like getting to him.
Yeah, because you had pointed out when we were talking about, I think the first episode we recorded, I was saying like LeBron looks like he's in playoff shape already.
Yeah. And
you told me like with AD, the reason he might look slower is because that slow off or that short off season might make him start off a little slower. But the thing is for me that I'm concerned about is he ever gonna is he always gonna be playing a step behind because of that? Like is he ever gonna get into shape? That's what's scary about it. Like and then he has all these different things that, he's been lingering with these injuries, and then he had this one, ended up missing the next game, which we'll talk about later.
I think what we could do too to like help this whole situation too though is like maybe limit some of the minutes for AD too. Not necessarily like cut his minutes, but I think that Kuzma plays so good that he could come in and play a little bit of power forward here and there. Give Kuzma some more minutes, and then maybe giving Trez some more minutes on certain nights, because if you look at the games, a lot of times the third quarter, like Trez and Kuz and like our bench won't come in until like there's 4 minutes left in the third. Like you don't need to leave your starters in there the whole quarter pretty much, I mean, unless it's a tight game, maybe, but they haven't all been tight games. You don't need to leave him in there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So maybe cut his minutes, give him some more time to rest pretty much. And then we also too though need to talk about the backcourt for the Lakers too with KCP and Dennis, because they have just been completely like out of sync. I feel like Dennis, he has his moments, but his field goal percentage is down. His threes are down. KCP had that one big game where he hit the 7 for 10 for threes.
Yeah.
But other than that, he has not been doing good. And from what I see, from what I think that could help those two guys, I think we just need to draw more things up for them, because KCP, as much threes as he hits, he's not a spot-up shooter. And I think that's almost what they're kind of trying to use him as. Like, if KCP doesn't get a 3 in transition or some random 3 in the corner, it's like they don't run nothing for him.
Yeah.
And it's like, at his bare essence, KCP is a slasher. He is not this spot-up shooter. So I think that's what's hurting him, because there's games where he doesn't get in a rhythm. Like, he'll have like 2 shots in the first half, and they're both threes, and he doesn't make it. And it's like he's just out of rhythm. And then with Dennis, we've talked about this too. Dennis gets nothing drawn up for him either, And it's just like, I feel like those two, because I mean, someone else has got to score in this starting lineup other than AD and LeBron, because it's not going to come from Mark. You can't ask Mark to do that. You need someone else to step up, and those two guys have the capability to do it. It's just the offense does not allow them, I feel like, to do any scoring unless it's from like the fast break, or they pass it into AD and someone gets doubled and they get open. But other than that, they get nothing ran for them, and I think that's hurting them.
Yeah, it's definitely, it throws him out of rhythm, like you said. I mean, Schroeder, like, it's cool when he starts attacking early, but my main concern with him is sometimes I feel like, I don't know if he's developing the habits of like AD and LeBron where they kind of look for the fouls and get a little upset when they don't get them.
Yeah.
I feel like he's fast enough to recover from that, but sometimes he stays on the ground and he gets up slow, like I should have got fouled there. And he's not getting calls right now, but he needs to stay encouraged with the fact that in the playoffs, the game slows down, there's more calls. He just needs to kind of keep that patience and keep attacking, because the more he attacks, the more he's likely to start getting these foul calls. So
yeah, but you got to also look at it too, though. This whole stopping and crying and kind of pouting on the floor, it's not just him though. As much as like good things that LeBron does, he does amazing things. But sometimes LeBron will sit there and argue with a ref way too long.
Yeah,
if you watch games,
a fast break.
Yeah, they'll get a fast break on the underside because LeBron's back there trying to argue his point. When it's like, I get it, you want to tell the ref, hey, watch out for this is happening, but there's a time and place to do it. So when you're doing it, and then even AD does it sometimes, your other guys are going to do the same thing. You got to lead by example, you know what I'm saying? So that's almost becoming like...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's becoming a problem,
It's almost like he's developing the habits, because those are his main leaders, So if he sees them do it, it's almost like, oh, the whole world's against us, so we have to kind of complain every time. Yeah. So... yeah, we definitely need to see him do a little more. But going into halftime, I mean, it was pretty much a story of two quarters. We had Philly started off hot. They were attacking. They got in the penalty, which was big for them in the first. And we kind of were in the penalty for like 5 minutes, half the quarter. But in the second quarter, the Lakers stepped up defensively, started clogging the paint. That's why Simmons wasn't as effective, and Embiid wasn't as much in that quarter. And then LeBron was playing really aggressive. But after that half, LeBron had 22, 5 and 3, which is really good.
Yeah.
AD 14, 3 and 1. Marc Gasol, 5 points, 3 assists, 2 rebounds. And then Kuz, 3 points and 6 rebounds. That was all in the first half, which is, now that I think about it, he didn't really do much the second half. But that's only because of, we'll get into that. But Frank Vogel needs to give Kuz some more minutes.
Yeah, with the Sixers, we had Tobias with 8 points and 3 assists. You had Embiid with 16 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists. You had Simmons with 10, 6, and 3. And Danny Green with 9 points and 4 rebounds, basically hitting all his threes.
Yeah, so going into the third off of that, I mean, I noticed that the Lakers came out stronger defensively than we have in the last couple of games, which, I mean, only lasted so long because I feel like they started getting momentum. But what did you notice in the third? What was going on for you? Like, what do you want to see out of the team?
Well, I noticed going into the third, too, LeBron and AD pretty much combined for 36 points, and the rest of the team only combined for 15. So, I mean, I know those are our two guys we want to ride pretty much, but... once again, like I said, there's got to be someone else to step up. Someone else has got to score. Yeah,
because at that point, I mean, we don't ask Marc Gasol to score that much. He had 8 points at the end of the third. Schroeder had 8. I think he could do more. But there's something here. Kuzma, he only had 3 still, right? But he only played 14 minutes overall. So he should have been in the game in the third, because he's hustling. He like I said before, he starts getting these outlet passes, or even if he doesn't do them, he'll give it to LeBron. LeBron gets a fast break pass. He's getting rebounds. He's doing so much. I just feel like he deserves a lot more playing time. We only saw Alex Caruso, too, up to that point for 6 minutes in the game. And that's like, well, those are 2 of our main bench players, besides Harrell, of course. I feel like Harrell gets his guaranteed minutes. But when it comes to Caruso and Kuzma, I could see a lot more hustle from them if they were actually in the game.
Because it's so hard to, like, be out there pretty much hustling and, busting your butt pretty much, and it's like the coach isn't giving the minutes, It's like, it's just hard, But another thing, too, that they had talked about, too, was that Dennis was 3 for 22 on 3-pointers up to this point. So his outside shot pretty much is, like, gone, right? So something there needs to change, too, because he does get to the paint, but he's not getting the calls. So he needs to be able to shoot a 3-point shot. At this point, too, KCP was pretty much invisible. He had nothing. He had nothing that whole third quarter, too. He didn't make a basket or nothing either. So, once again, like I said, the backcourt just needs to do more. But
yeah, in this quarter, I mean, Schroeder started, because he started 0 for 5.
He did.
And then he had 3 field goals in the quarter at one point. And I was like, okay, he's doing more. He's starting to do more. But I feel like, I mean, he had another drive, and then he ended up having 4 field goals. So he's doing more, but I feel like he needs to consistently do it, because he starts off a little hot sometimes, first and second, and then the third will come. It'll be a little more quiet. Or I feel like when he does miss and he has a slow start, sometimes he just kind of lets that be the vibe, and he'll defer to LeBron or he'll defer to the stars.
And also one thing that I noticed too that I think also screwed us over was because at this point you had pretty much Embiid going off, right? So they moved AD to Embiid, and then they had Mark Gasol pretty much try to guard Tobias, which is like he's definitely not fast enough to guard him. So like Tobias started to like get a little success going on. He had a three, a couple baskets, you know. And Embiid, I mean, he kind of went quiet, but it's like that's the thing with Mark that we talked about. It's almost like you got to pick your poison. It's like he's just so slow. It's like I don't see Marc Gasol being successful against anyone defensively at all this year. It's got to be someone that's probably...
Or if he does, it's almost like he needs to do it in spurts. Like we need to have someone else that comes in and does most of that so he doesn't get too broken down throughout the game.
Yeah.
But he's not a guy that we could rely on to play the entire game.
Yeah. And this is where coaching goes too, though, right? Because I think at that point, instead of switching Mark on Harris, you pretty much should bring in Montrez at that point or Kuzma. Because why are you going to pit slow Marc Gasol on freaking Tobias when you have these two young guys that are faster that could also do it at a way higher, a way higher degree, So like that's just Vogel having bad coaching.
Yeah, and here's the thing too is like they had Harrell in a lot like down the stretch, but this wasn't the match for him, and the reason was because they were putting him on Embiid.
Yeah, that's the wrong guy. You like I said, you tell AD to guard Embiid, and you have Harold. If you're gonna play him, I don't mind playing Harold, but put him on Harris or something, But
with AD, it's like I understand that he's made it kind of he's vocalized that he doesn't want to play center and he wants to be playing power forward mostly, but with the team right now, he's gonna have to do it, especially against these elite centers. Like he has to be able to guard. Drummond the other night he did do that. But, I mean, Drummond was still effective, which is another thing with AD. We have concerns. But with Embiid, he kind of needs to just be able to step up to that challenge and not, we're just giving up points at that point. AD is a defensive player of the year, capable guy.
Which he doesn't even look like it this year, honestly.
Not this year,
AD does not look like that. But, I mean, you look at the last quarter of this game, pretty much it's like it's a game of runs with the Lakers. Like, once again, the Lakers had a bad spurt in there where they were basically had a 15-5 run for about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's like they were doing great, but it's like then they'll do bad, like they just need to do good all the time. They can't have this run and then be bad for 3 minutes, And then at one point in the fourth quarter, if you watch the game too, there was pretty much a foul. Well, not a no call pretty much, where AD got the ball stripped. And we were pretty close in the game too. I think we were only down by 3 or something like that. Or like 5. And AD, LeBron, and I forget who it was, but they pretty much stayed on the other side crying and left Caruso and I think it was Wesley Matthews or something like that basically on 4-on-2. And they gave up a 3 in transition because no one ran back. Everyone was so like, oh, why didn't you call the foul? Yeah. That's the type of stuff that you're going to lose games because that's a huge swing compared to being down from 3 or 5 points down from 8 now.
Yeah,
that's a huge swing, So it's like stuff like that cannot happen. As leaders, you need to not worry about the calls because you're not going to always get the call. You just got to accept it. That's basketball. That's sports in general. You're not going to always get the call. So you've got to just move on, do what you got to do, and just accept it,
Yeah, and when they do kind of just focus on the flow of the game instead of focusing on these no calls, which happens to every team.
Yeah, it's not just us that gets that happening to.
So when they do focus on just the game, you see what they're capable of. They end up going on a run, and they're able to kind of chip into the lead. They went on an 11-0 run at one point, and LeBron showing off some passing, AD with the clutch finish, Schroeder set the screen on Embiid, like nice plays, and we finally get the lead. So we have all these things going right when we finally just focus on the game, when we finally just get in a rhythm. But the thing is, I feel like we go on these offensive runs, but like I said, we don't maintain the run because our defensive focus is just not there. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, we'll be on.
It's just hustle, man. Because like, there's another thing that happened too in this game that really like hurt us too. With 45 seconds left, right? I think we were down by like 3 at this point, right? 45 seconds left. Pretty much, we have 3 guys in the paint. LeBron was there and a few other guys. And Danny Green gets an offensive rebound, right? And gives them another 14. Yes, they do miss their shots still anyway, but stuff like that cannot happen down the stretch. You cannot let Danny Green get an offensive rebound with 45 seconds left in the game and you're down. Like, you've got to be, like, boxing people out and fighting for the boards. That's where the starters, I don't know what it is this year, if they're all prima donnas or something like that. They're just like, I'm too good for this. But they don't want to do the dirty work. That's where you throw in Kuz and Caruso and all this stuff because they're going to go get the board. They're going to do the things they need to do in crunch time, right? And that's kind of been, like, the whole story of the starters this year. Like,
it's almost like that championship hangover.
Yeah.
That's pretty much how I've noticed. And I feel like, like with Kuz, we had Caruso at the end of this game. And Caruso had so many plays. Like,
he did
tipping
good.
tipping some rebounds out so we have extra possessions. Like, that's what we need. And that's the thing with Schroeder is it almost makes me think that maybe in order to humble Schroeder a little bit, because he came to this team kind of like wanting to start right away, it might be time to start Caruso, just to kind of get him, to have motivation again. Because he was a 6th man of the year last year. So, yeah. But at the end of this game, I mean, we know what happened. Tobias Harris gets the mismatch, hits the shot over Caruso. We can go back and forth about what could have happened. LeBron could have, avoided getting the switch on him. But Tobias hits the game winner. We lose 107-106. And it's the beginning of the first loss on the road of the season. And we'll lead into the next game where it was another L. So yeah. What do you, any other thoughts on this game, or you want to?
Nah, I mean, everything that needed to be said, pretty much lack of hustle. People need to just step up and do what they got to do. But like you said, on to the Detroit game.
Yeah, so for Detroit, going into this game, I was interested to see how Kuz would do with AD out. But
I was very excited for that.
Because Kuz he's just like another animal when he starts. He is. And I think this game in particular, for Kuz and for another player we'll talk about, it's going to start forcing Vogel's hand. Like, you have to give these guys minutes because they're bringing more energy than your starters. So for that game, for Detroit and the Lakers, that game, we did take the L again, as we mentioned, and we ended up losing that game 107-92. And so we'll start off in the beginning. What did you notice in the beginning of this game?
Well, I mean, in the first quarter, you pretty much had LeBron went off. He had 3 threes, pretty much a couple baskets, got to the foul line. But pretty much playing good basketball. And Kuz with the start, which with him, he got in foul trouble pretty early, but still offered a 3. He had a basket, things like that. And then you have Blake Griffin pretty much, try to prove that he's still Blake Griffin. They had a couple baskets, some 3s, free throws, and then, everyone pretty much did what I expected them to do. The thing that I saw, though, in that first half that I kind of liked was, I think we need to do more of this, right, with Marc Gasol, because he's got to offer something to this team, right? And one thing that he does really well that we could agree on and other people agree on is that he's a hell of a passer. Like, he could pass the ball. He's talented, right? So I think one thing that made us so dangerous last year was we were such a good transition team. And I feel like we've kind of lost that a little bit. I mean, we still got our transition points, but I feel like there's so many times someone will get the rebound and then try to pass it to LeBron, and then LeBron will bring it up. And there was a play in this game pretty much where Marc Gasol got the rebound and then was able to do like a full court pass to pretty much get transition points, right? So I think with Marc, he needs to try to focus on getting some boards and starting the break. Because I think that's going to be easy baskets. LeBron, instead of staying and waiting for the pass, depending if he sees Marc's going to get the rebound, he needs to just leak out and run. Yeah. Because he's too fast. He's going to beat everyone down the court. AD is fast. He's going to beat everyone down the court. KCP, pretty much all our starters are fast. They'll beat their matchups down the court.
Yeah, he's not. So, with Marc, he's not going to be the one beating people down.
No.
So he needs to be able to at least show the hustle on the defensive end to get the rebound and then be started out with the outlet pass, because he's not going to be the first one down there.
At least, like I said, he's not beating no one down the court. So at least stay down there, fight for the rebound. You're 7 feet tall. You're not going to out jump a lot of people. But if you just do the work early and box people out and get position and just get the board, it's going to help out a lot. So at least he could bring something to the team. But I think, like I said, I saw that, and I think they need to talk about that more and tell Marc to do that more.
Yeah.
But I mean, pretty much with the Pistons, all they had was Blake Griffin. But other people showed out too. So you had Ellington, who's the number one 3-point percentage.
Former Laker, too.
Former Laker, it seems like forever ago, too. Yeah. But he pretty much leads the NBA in 3-point percentage.
Yeah, he had 4 in the half.
Four and a half, you know, and then you had Grant, who came over from the Thunder, I believe. He added 3 and a couple baskets, you know.
From Denver.
Was it? Yeah, Denver.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people stepped up on their side of the court, you know.
Yeah.
But it comes back to, like, starters need to hustle and do what they got to do because their starters are not better than our starters. This shouldn't even been a game.
Yeah, even without AD, we should have had enough firepower to beat them. And I know it's a back-to-back game, but after that heartbreaker to the 76ers, I was like, okay, we're going to rebound. It's Detroit. It's a get-right game. No AD. Okay, I wanted to see him get right in this game just to kind of bully some people around. Even though Blake Griffin, the way he was playing, he might have not let him. But we should have definitely won this game, and we should have come out a lot. Like, the rotations on defense for their threes, they shot way too many threes. I think that's what kept the score so close.
Yeah.
Is that we're letting, like, LeBron's making his threes, right? But we're letting them hit threes. We're letting Wayne Ellington hit threes when we have people that can rotate on him to make life difficult for him.
KCP is supposed to be like a wing, like, defensive specialist. Like, that's what he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be able to guard up. And then you got Schroeder, who's not particularly tall, but he's fast. You should be able to stick on to him, you know?
Yeah, the closeouts should be there, for sure.
Yeah, they should definitely be there, you know? But pretty much LeBron like was doing his thing the first half of this game. Like, he was pretty much carrying the team, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, with LeBron, I love LeBron, and he's doing great. But once again, someone else has to step up.
Yeah.
You know? And
the thing that kills his rhythm is he knows he's got it going. So it's almost like he's like, all right, you know, I got my guys. They're going to have my back now. So then we go into the third quarter, and it seems like he kind of takes a step back, and he starts trying to get everyone involved. But then it kills his own momentum. So it's like...
I feel like with him, though, he's got to find a balance, right? I feel like when he has games like this where he's just going off, keep going off. Don't worry about bringing everyone else with you, because at the end of the day, you got to have games like this sometimes. Everyone has big-time games, and this was setting up to be a big-time game. So it's like he just needs to keep going, not worry about everyone else, you know? And everyone else is going to get their points. I mean, like I said, if we just do the little things, like the transition stuff, they're going to get their points, you know? And not only that, our offense is gauged to let LeBron score anyway. If you look at our offense, one thing that I wish that we would change is we need to run more plays for people. Like, I feel like if you watch our half-court offense, it's nothing special. Like, it's either throw it down to AD and let him post up and ISO and try to score, or it's like give it to LeBron and let him ISO. You know, you might have a few people come off some flare screens off the side, or some people trying to make some cuts, but it's like nothing special. Like, nothing gets set up for nobody in this half-court offense other than AD and LeBron. And I get it. Those are your guys. You want them to score. They got to do it. But
we need confidence.
You got to get your other guys involved. Like I said, KCP could do so much more as a starter.
Yeah, we need those guys like KCP, Schroeder, even Hare off the bench. Kuz starting tonight. Like, we need them to maintain confidence. They can't just sit back and watch the superstars work all the time. So we need to be able to get them comfortable in their role. In order for them to do that, especially in these games where, you know, we come off a loss, Detroit, they're going to wake up for the game, and AD's out. We're going to need other people. Like, it can't just be, like, obviously it can't just be LeBron, because look what happened.
Because not only that, like, you got to look at it like this. Eventually, as good as LeBron is, and as conditioned he is, he's going to gas out. You got to remember, he's not young. This reminds me, because this year too, he's averaging like 30-something minutes. I think it's like 35 minutes, something like that. Something crazy, right?
Yeah.
It reminds me of that year when Kobe got hurt. When, like, freaking, they were just riding him all season to make him do so much things. And his Achilles pretty much went out, you know? It reminds you of that kind of too, because with the season being so short and condensed and them playing so many games, you can't just keep riding LeBron like this. Like, something's going to give, you know? So that's where AD needs to step up more. The starters, like I said, let other guys help you. Vogel needs to create something that's going to let other people get involved and let them help. Because it's not enough of what's happening now. And it's like, there's also, you know, with the effort thing, like I said, they had Stewart and I don't know how to say his name. Doomboya, I think it's his name. Doomboya or Doughboy or something like that.
That's the best I've heard someone try to pronounce
Doomboya, you know, that's a tough name. But those guys were like causing like havoc in the paint, right? And I don't even know who these guys are, and I watch a lot of basketball, right? Like,
that's the issue, is when you don't know who our opponents are, and we're letting them do this.
Yeah, you know. So it's just like we need to. attack the boards, right? And if you look at the stats, you'll say that the boards were pretty much even. Mm-hmm. But the boards that Detroit were getting, they shouldn't have gotten in the first place. Like, a lot of them were just like offensive rebounds, or like things where people are just looking around when the board's coming down. Like, no one's going for the actual board. They're just looking around, kind of like, okay, who's going to get it? Like, you got to attack the boards more, because this is against Detroit. There's going to be other teams that have like actual rebounders, and they're going to destroy us on the like. Look at what Drummond a few nights ago destroyed us on the boards. Yeah. Like, we need to get better at rebounding the ball.
Yeah, and granted, I mean, Drummond is like the top rebounder in the league, but we expect, we have AD, we have LeBron who's capable of triple doubles, we have Trez, we have Mark who's a big body. We should have more effort on those, and I mean that's why I feel like at this point I'd probably start Kuz, but that's a whole nother conversation. Yeah. For this game though, who had a big impact, and I was mentioning him in the beginning, is THT.
He had a THT sighting, yeah.
Yeah, and the problem is, like, why didn't he play against Philly? Like, there's some weird, I don't know what's going on. I don't, like, it only goes so far. Like, I remember mentioning that Vogel probably feels like veterans should get their minutes. That's why you see Wesley out there. But patience with Wesley, for me, is wearing really thin, because I feel like
he's not doing nothing. The Wesley we got right now is not the Wesley I thought we were going to get, like, when we signed him. I was like excited when we got Wesley. I was like, yeah, because he was supposed to be this wing defender who could, like, make threes, pretty much a 3-and-D guy. Yeah. And he's not even making his threes that much. Like, he'll make one or two here and there, but it's just like him and Morris, in my opinion, are playing empty minutes. Like, Morris will take up minutes too, where I feel like they should be going to Kuz. Yeah. Wesley's taking up minutes that should go to Alex Caruso or THT. Yeah. Those guys, I feel like at this point, I've already seen enough. I know what they are, and I know that those guys have moments where they do really good, but I don't need moments. I need people that are going to consistently do something every night, So I think, like you said, Vogel just need to get better at the whole giving out minutes things. He needs to readjust his lineup and rethink this whole thing. Yeah. So I mean, down the stretch, the Lakers pretty much imploded. We let them go on a 7-0 run. We're missing easy finishes. Like, everyone's missing under the rim. Yeah. It was just terrible. Then we finally let Ellington get a 3 in the fourth, which is the clutchest time that he could have made it. And we got lazy. We let them go. Or we let him get a rotation on us and then get his 3. And then obviously we pointed out LeBron. He should have stayed aggressive, especially in this game. Like, we take pride in not losing back-to-backs. And this was a get-right game, like I said. And he didn't keep his rhythm going. And, I mean, we LeBron pretty much, he had one basket that whole second half. One basket. That's terrible. And it's like, I don't know, man. Like, it's things like this, dude, that, like, like I said, I love LeBron. But this is where we talk about, he's got to just have that dog. He was having such a great night. Don't worry about getting other people involved. It's one night. Like, have your night. It's fine. No one's going to be like, oh, look at LeBron ball hogging. No one thinks he's a ball hog. Everyone knows that he wants to get people involved. He wants to bring people with him. But on nights like this, where you see the games kind of getting out of hand against a team like Detroit, just take the ball and go. Like, there's no one's going to stop you, So, like... And I mean, we don't know, obviously maybe he's thinking for the long run, I'm going to have to show these guys, like, I can't do it on my own. I don't know what it is, but especially coming off a loss to a tough contender, I feel like in this game, he should have done it. If we're coming off a win against Philly, I guess maybe try to prove a point. AD's not with me. Let me try to make these guys step up. But to lose 2 in a row like this to a team that had 4 wins. Like, 4 wins. We don't need to be losing to the last seed in the East, which I don't think anyone's worse than them. But still, I mean, it was just a combination of things. Like I said, Frank Vogel, THT, I didn't see him down the stretch. No. Yeah, so it's like, LeBron has his faults, but so does our coaching. Like, I hope this was a wake-up call. It's definitely coaching needs to get better, just to bring up Kuzma, too, because he did start. Kuzma had a great game. Kuzma had, finished with 22 and 10, I think, or something like that, right? Yeah. Kuzma had some threes. He had good hustle. Like you said, we talked about, we need to either get Kuzma some more minutes or maybe think about this rotation, because... Like you said, the whole Dennis Schroeder thing. I like Dennis Schroeder and stuff, and I know he's talented and he has his moments, but it's like, we've talked about this before. LeBron pretty much runs point. Yeah. Like, I don't mind sitting Dennis and having him come off that bench unit and maybe, letting him be the point guard there, because at least there he has a little bit more of free reign to score and do things for himself, and he's not so worried maybe about setting up AD and LeBron, and he could actually develop a rhythm. But I don't mind, like I said, sitting home and telling LeBron pretty much, hey, play point guard. And
yeah, if we had a starting lineup with LeBron, point guard pretty much, KCP could stay in. I mean, he does enough defensively, shows enough energy. Kuzma, AD, and I guess if you want to keep Gasol, but I think we need another center to fill that void. But I think we need to start Kuzma at this point because
or get him just more minutes, like you said. Get him more minutes because, like you said, there's so much times in the games. If you watch it in the third quarter, the starters will play the entire freaking quarter most of the time. Like there'll be 3 minutes left, and they'll finally bring in Caruso and Kuzma. Like, give them more minutes. They're earning these minutes. They're showing that they could play. Kuzma could score, but he also does little things. Alex Caruso defensively always brings energy. He could also shoot and score, but I feel like we've got to change rotation because another thing too that you got to look out. Yes, our record is really good, but we haven't played anybody. Like the 3 challenges was the Clippers, the Bucks, and then Philly.
Yeah,
everyone else has pretty much been underneath 500 that we played, which is crazy.
And we've allowed a lot of these lowly teams to give us more competition than they should.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's concerning because it's like our schedule hasn't been hard. Yeah, I mean, we've been competitive for the most part in all these games, against the harder teams. And I mean, you can give them a little bit of a pass for ring opening night, for ring night. But when you get to this point where you're playing the Bucks, I mean, they did good. Philly, I mean, we didn't wake up to like the last 4 minutes maybe. And it's like, we need to come with that. Like, we're defending our championship, And I mean, now that we're at the end of this game and like we said, we lost this game, 107-92, should have never lost the game.
Well, I mean, this is another thing too that we got to look at too, because we've talked about this too. When it comes to the Lakers, there's runs, right? And here's a crazy stat. We had 0 points for 7 minutes.
Yeah.
In the fourth.
And we let them go on a 14-0 run. 11 missed shots by us.
Yeah, and 7 minutes that's pretty much like the whole dang quarter with no baskets, nothing.
That's terrible.
Like, and you have LeBron on the field, on the court. You have Kuzma, you have KCP, you have Dennis. You have Trez. You have all these people that are on the court, and I feel like that's just insane. Like, and I mean, it's hard to expect guys that are not even really scorers, because Kuzma can only do so much. I mean, like I said, Kuzma had a great game, but they don't ask him to score. So it's hard to be like in the fourth quarter of a game where all year it's like you're not telling him to score. Just like all of a sudden, like, I need you to erupt, or you got KCP that doesn't get nothing run for him. You got freaking Trez, who's pretty much our guy that plays defense and gets boards, and some ISOs here and there, but he's not going to save the game, So it's just like, I feel like it comes back to what I said about we need to have a better half-court offense because there's going to be nights where LeBron's not hitting and AD's not hitting, and it's like, where else is it going to come from? We gotta get people involved. So I think that's the biggest thing moving forward.
Yeah,
we need to start getting more people involved.
Because like with these runs, this isn't even the first time
we've
had these droughts.
all year it's been like that. Especially the third quarter after halftime, people go on runs, and it's getting ridiculous.
We've let the Spurs go on runs. You know what I mean? Like we've had these crazy stretches where we stop. Like it's just bad habits. It's almost like, I don't know what it is. It's like we are pretty star dependent.
Yeah.
We do rely on LeBron and AD, but like you said, we have to be able to put our guys in the best position to succeed. We can't just expect it. And that's the thing with the minutes. Like, say the next game, Vogel's not going to put Kuzma in because he wasn't knocking down shots at the end, but that's his own fault because he didn't have him playing as much. So it's like this weird.
You can't expect people to come out who pretty much don't even play the second half, and if they don't hit shots, take them out. And it's like, I think, like I said, the main thing we could take from these 2 games is rotation needs to change. Mm-hmm. Morris, as much as I like Morris, I think his minutes need to be cut. Mm-hmm. Wesley Matthews, as much as I like him too, his minutes need to be cut. And maybe start exploring a different option at big man, because I think the trade deadline's even coming up soon in the NBA too. I think it's like March 1st or something like that. So that's coming up soon. So I think we need to explore something there at the center position too.
Yeah, so we need to look for, like I said, that athleticism in our big man. We need that because Gasol doesn't have it. So like you said, even with Schroeder, I would think about maybe splitting the minutes directly in half between him and Caruso and just seeing what happens. Even if you still start Schroeder, give Caruso more minutes because
Caruso doesn't play at all. I feel like, dude, like there's sometimes Caruso, and it's not like he's doing anything wrong. No, and I don't know if there's something going on with Caruso. Maybe there's something behind the scenes that we just missed or we haven't heard of. But
and if there isn't, then this is just criminal.
It's just weird how much they do not play Caruso. Like it's crazy, you know?
Yeah. So
because I want to look this up real fast because I'm very, very curious about the minutes with Caruso.
Yeah. Because I mean, he's the leading 3-point shooter, but it's almost because he doesn't even get to shoot. Like he's efficient with those shots.
Well, look at this. Look at this. I just look at this right now, right? And this is the Sixers game. You have Caruso and Kuzma both playing 16 minutes, right? You have Schroeder playing 29 minutes. 29. You have KCP, right, playing 27. You have Wesley Matthews playing 20 minutes. Wesley Matthews, dude. And then you have Marquise Morris playing 13 minutes.
And in that game, you know who played 0 minutes? THT. So,
in the Philly game, he actually played 7.
Did he play 7?
He did play 7. But it probably was such a short 7 you didn't even notice. But it's like, how are you going to have your two main hustle guys playing 16 minutes? Even Harold, 15 minutes. But you're going to give Wesley 20 minutes? Yeah. Like, that's just... It makes no sense to me at all.
Like, I mean, who knows? Maybe when they negotiated his contract, they told him he would get minutes. But it's got to be performance-based at the end of the day. Like, Frank Vogel's got to get real with Wesley, got to get real with Gasol, all these people.
Yeah, you even got Gasol playing 24 minutes.
And I mean, the Philly game, I kind of understand because he's a bigger body than Harold. It wasn't Harold's game to step up.
But still, dude, I mean...
But that's where it comes down to. We need another big man. We also need to keep an eye. We got to keep an eye on. We're in transition here into what's going on around the league. We got to start keeping an eye on the moves that could be possibly made. We have the Nets. We hear all these rumblings about Andre Drummond getting bought out, going to the Nets. We have to respond to that. Like, even if it's now, like, we got to figure something out.
I would love to get Drummond. Imagine that. Yeah. Imagine that. It would be amazing, dude. I would somehow try to move. If I could, I would move Wesley. I don't care. I'd move Wesley. I would move Morris. If someone would take those contracts and then make room for Drummond.
But the thing with Drummond is if he gets bought out, then we sign him for a minimum. Because he gets his money and a smaller contract from us. Yeah. So that's what's going to happen with the Nets. Because they have those 3 big contracts with Harden, Kyrie, and KD. So any team could really afford him if he gets bought out.
Yeah, because even if, let's say the Nets make the run, right? Mm-hmm. They're not going to pay him much money. There's no way. They can't.
Yeah.
So at least that, if you talk to him and tell him, like, look, you're not going to get crazy money. And maybe for him, it is about the money. Okay, cool. Maybe he could go to some crazy team like the Hornets, and that's okay. But I would approach Drummond like, listen, man, you're at the end of your career, kind of, you're getting up there in age. If you come to us, you're going to get a ring. Because I think, honestly, with Drummond, we would for sure have a crazy high chance to get a ring.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have 2 of the best defenders in the paint in the league with Anthony Davis.
Imagine that, dude. Freaking Drummond and Davis in the paint. That would be amazing.
That's why I told, my brother, Diego, I told him, like, we need to start having those conversations. I know there's tampering stuff, but people talk behind the scenes.
People always talk.
Even if it's not Pelinka himself,
They talk to us. No, I'm just saying. They don't talk
inside
to us.
Knowledge.
They don't talk to us.
Like AD, LeBron, him and AD seem to be playful in that game. So, I mean, just hit his line and be like, yo, we're hearing these rumblings about you going to the Nets. Don't do that. Like, don't let KD have this comeback year. Like, come out, come get a ring with us. Be a defending champ. But, I mean...
You got Bradley Beal, too, though, we got to talk about, too, because the trade deadline is coming up.
Yeah.
That's another name that he obviously can't go to the Nets. Mm-hmm. They don't got enough cap room.
But the Clippers.
The Clippers are the only team that I'm not really afraid of the Clippers right now as they are constructed, even though they have one of the better records in NBA, too. But I just don't fear them. Mm-hmm. But if they were to get Bradley Beal...
I mean, that's 3 offense. Like, Kawhi can go off on offense and defense. Then you got Paul George, who's looking better this year, and Bill. I mean, that takes pressure off George to begin with.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a scary move for them to do. I still don't understand how they could do it. I know we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. You told me because their owners are one of the richest owners in the league, and he's okay with going into the luxury tax. Okay. He will pay the fines and all that. He doesn't care. All right. He has the money.
So, I mean, if that happens, I mean, like you said earlier, you almost want it to happen just to make sure they don't get them.
Yeah.
So, for me... I'd be willing, like I told you this, and it hurts both of us.
It hurts, man.
I'd be willing to give up Kuz, but only...
I don't know how to cry, dude.
but only because we're not maximizing his potential. If we're not going to use him the way he deserves to be used, then let him go do something. I mean, we're saying him to Washington, but I mean, but I mean, let him go and score his 40 points in a loss. You know, the way that Bill has been doing. You know, I mean, at least he'll be able to show himself and then get a contract. I mean, he can opt out of his third year. So I mean,
come back to the Lakers.
Come back to LA.
Come back to the Lakers.
But I mean, there's so much going on right now.
Back,
to pretty much sum it up, 2 bad losses in a row that we, you know, the first one I can take. It's a close game. It's a contender. The second one, even without AD, we should not have lost. But there's a lot of things. Like I said, we need a big man. We need to pay attention to the buyout market, see what happens with that, and then explore trades, because if these teams, they're all making these moves because of us. And the thing we got to talk about with Drummond is the Cavaliers might buy him out knowing that he might go to the Nets just to spite LeBron. Like that's a big thing right there. Yeah. So we're gonna wrap this up though. This was episode 4 of the Lake Show Flow. Longer episode because we had 2 games to cover and wanted to address some of the stuff, kind of just letting it flow. But we'll go ahead and see you guys next time. If you're new here, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. Yeah. We appreciate the support. We're gonna do this way more consistent. We would do 2 separate games, but you guys gotta, we gotta get some more support to be motivated to, we'll break it all down. We gotta get more support. But we appreciate you guys that are here again, and we'll see you guys next time on episode 5. Follow us on Twitter at LakeShow Flow, and we'll see you guys next time.
Be safe, Laker Nation.